following on from our podcast, which I'll put a link to in the notes for this video, but also up here somewhere, I thought it'd be useful to produce a video about things equipment-wise that might be helpful for dealing with nipping and biting. The main focus of this video is going to be around puppies, although this can be an issue for working dogs, dogs with high drive, dogs that are frustrated. And if you want to explore more about that, have a look at the podcast, because Georgia and I talk through a lot of those things there. But because we mentioned quite a few things in the podcast, I thought, why not do a video about it? So here it is. So, particularly with puppies, they go through different stages of development, which will mean at different times they want to bite down on different things. So this is if it's particularly teething or growing pains, things like that. So this doesn't look like much, but this was one of Aria's favourites when she was teething. It's sort of firm but soft at the same time, and you can actually fill it with water and freeze it. So it can be quite soothing for pups that are teething. Even on its own without that, it seems to be really popular with the pups in here. If they're getting a bit beyond themselves, need to bite down, I'll give them that. But sometimes you might watch your pup and think, oh, they're going for a certain type of thing. It might be like they're going for the furniture, the wood furniture, stuff like that. In that instance, I might use something like this. This is an olive branch, suitable for dogs. It is worth noting that you should check that the things that you're giving your pup are age appropriate. And it should say so on the label, or you could check in with the person selling it. Another type of thing I use, this has obviously been well used, that's a buffalo braid. It's not rawhide. I don't use rawhide because it's basically just bleach and glue, but this is all natural, braided. That seems to go down quite well. Or another sort of firm that goes softer as they chew, that's buffalo hide. So Aria absolutely loves those. Those are one of her favourites. But it might be that they're having an episode where they're nipping and biting and it's part of zoomies, or they're really into your feet, your slippers, things like that. Well, we talk about that in the podcast about how to prevent that. But if you were trying to redirect that energy onto something else, you'd want to be redirecting it onto something that's like the thing that they want. So, for example, if they're after your slippers and you're trying to redirect it onto a bit of wood, they might be like, well, I'm not asking for that at the moment. Not bother going for the slippers again. And personally, I don't wear slippers for a bit when I've got a new pup. But what you might do is use something like this. This is a Tug Enough tugger. There are other brands on the market. If these things don't live out all the time, these are hidden somewhere, they're special. I use them a lot in training. But if the dog was going crackers and I needed to redirect, I'd grab from my special, ready, get it. And I'd put it on cue, get it, and redirect that energy because they need an outlet for it. Another one they might like, if they're wanting to bite on something soft like your pillows or even your sleeve or your arm, you might want a soft toy, something that they can budge down on like that. That might be something you redirect, but again, if I was using something like that, I wouldn't have it readily available. It'd be in my big guns drawer. Right, I'm going to get that out, get that in the dog's mouth. Now, there are those times of day where your dog goes crackers and you think, oh, they're broken, I don't know what's wrong with them. They're possessed, that's zoomies. You can't get through to them and you think, oh, heck, I need to do something about this. Well, that's where this bad boy comes in. Let me tilt down a bit. Ooh, that's my puppy pen. You can see Hamish is being very well behaved in there. Now, I'm all right with the use of timeout when the dog's lost it. No, I wouldn't grapple them in and tell them, all right, you're in there. I wouldn't do any of that. But there are points where the dog's lost it. They need either some enforced rest or a safe place to take it out on stuff. So all this arsenal of things I've shown you, apart from the tug and the toy, would be in there with some water, and I'd pop the dog in there and let them take it out on whatever's in there. But let me get you something. Some dogs get completely bitey, and in that instance, you don't really want to put your hands on them or anything like that. You might want to use something like this. Can you see how small that clip is? This is a training lead. It's a training line, a house line. It's a very thin and not very long. It's like a regular lead, but it doesn't have a loop on the end. So if your dog is going through a developmental phase where they're particularly bitey, you might have them wearing one of these so that when they go into one, you can just lead them into the pen, pop them in there and go and breathe and do whatever you need to do to calm down. Because it's really hard. Some dogs are prolific nippers and people get really hurt. We're going to talk more about this in the podcast, so I do want you to listen to that. But from an equipment perspective, I thought it'd be useful to do an additional video. If you've got any comments, pop them down below, and do check out the podcast because you might ask questions where the answers are in that. All right, hope that's helpful. Bye.